What's up, fight fans? Welcome back. We're back with episode 2 of Sugar's Say. I'm your host, Sugar C, and joining me today we have Connor from Fighting Talk 2. Connor,
Yes, it has
how you
to.
doing
Don't
today?
forget the two, mate. You don't forget the two.
How you doing, buddy? You good?
Very good, Shug, mate. How's it going? All sweet your end?
Yeah, do you know what? I am fantastic. I already feel like I've got that fight week feeling. It's like, it's Melo right now. Don't get me wrong. This is the start of it. I know this fight's coming up. I get to break them down now, do my predictions. But I know coming up is the weigh-ins. And then after that, we've got fight day. Now, fight day for me is something special. I don't know about yourself. Have you got any fight day rituals? What's your Saturday like?
It all depends on what time the fight card is. Naturally, being in the UK, we're up until 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, which we all complain about anyway. But fortunately, we've got two cards that are quite reasonably timed. So I feel like it might be more of a beer situation instead of being a double espresso or an energy drink situation.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. It's sort of from the European sides of MMA. It's very much you've got your Red Bull or your Monster, your energy drinks, or you've got your people on something a little bit stronger that have a little bit of a drink during fight day. For me, now I'm a football fan as well, and no, I don't mean soccer. I mean football. I'm a Leeds fan. I love to watch football. So Saturdays for me usually start around 12 o'clock, and I start with a little bit of football. You get yourself in the mood. I like to watch my team sometimes. Leeds can sometimes do me proud. Sometimes it's a little bit harder. But then it gets to around that 5 o'clock time, and I've got that transition. Usually I'll have a little bit of food. I'm like, do you know what? Fights are going to start. I start getting my dancing going. I might be in a bit of a rhythm because I love me some fights. But this week, I believe we're starting at 5 p.m. Is that our prelim?
Yeah, I think it's 5 o'clock, and then I think the first fight will probably come out 5:15 or something like that. But it's pretty reasonably timed, to be fair. Pretty reasonably timed.
I am not going to complain at all. Do you know, I don't complain when they're on late. I don't complain when they're on early, as long as they're on. The only thing I'm going to complain about is the fact that we've gone nearly 4 weeks without a UFC card. For me, it's been torturous. How have you been getting on without MMA, without the
It's,
UFC?
it's been a struggle, to be honest with you. I've been rewatching a lot of cards. Obviously, there's some fighters that there's a lot of fights booked this year, and a lot of really, really exciting fights in the next 3 months as well. So I've been rewatching previous fights of theirs, breaking down a little bit in my head, and going to be talking about them on my own channel and stuff like that as well. So just been watching old stuff really, and obviously with Chandler coming into the UFC as well, been having a look at his history in Bellator. I'm not a massive Bellator fan, but I've been watching a lot of his fights as well, just to see his matchup with Hooker, and obviously that's quite a big question as well. So well, it's all to come, isn't it?
Yeah, well, with Michael Chandler, he's had some wars over the years, obviously with Eddie Alvarez. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. It's new breed for the divisions. I'm always excited. It's something people have been complaining about Chandler coming in to the UFC for years, going, "Oh, we'll come to the UFC, fight some real competition." Well, he's here now and he's ready, and he wants a piece of everyone. He's coming for that belt apparently. But yeah, what fight would you say that you're most excited for this year that's sort of been announced or is in the works right now?
Uh, I'm a big John Jones fan. Not a massive John Jones fan. I like watching him fight, but I like him how he used to be when he was kind of like 22, 23. He was very dynamic and very exciting and explosive. Whereas now, obviously, he's just a bit more of a. It's like he's going out and he's just doing point kickboxing. He just wants to cruise through the rounds and just kind of scrape that decision. But I'm looking forward to whoever John Jones gets matched up against in heavyweight. I think that's going to be a big fight anyway. A very big fight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just for me, I'm hoping that John decides to stay at heavyweight, as in he's vacated the belt, said he's going to move up. It's just with Izzy now taking the fight against Jan, it's sort of it tempts John back down, but he doesn't gain anything out of it. He's wasted a lot of time. He would have put on all of that mass to then have to lose it again. It just makes no sense. I'd love to see John at heavyweight. I'm on the opposite side. I want to see John versus Francis Ngannou,
Hmm.
and because I don't think you point fighting Francis Ngannou. He's gonna
Nah.
go and he's gonna either try and grapple with him, which I love to see John grapple. I don't think that he does it enough. I think that's the issue. He's a sort of fighter that rises to the style of his opponent. He'll give you what you're gonna get, and that's why we saw very similar fights from him versus Reyes to him versus Santos, even him versus Smith. He could finished Anthony Smith for the longest time. And I'm not talking about the illegal strikes, but it's just weird. He seems to fight to the level of his opponent. So I would love to see him in a barn burner versus someone like Francis that's just going to bring the heat.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely love to see it.
Definitely, that would be a huge fight as well. A huge fight.
Without a doubt. The only reason I don't want to see that is because I want Francis to get shot against Stipe again. What more can you do after losing to the champ to show that you're ready for another shot? He can't do anything else. Who else does he have to beat? Is he going to beat the whole division instead? Give Francis his shot. There's a lot of Stipe fans out there saying it goes the exact same. I'm in the belief that it doesn't. I'm a huge Francis fan. I think that Ngannou is developing so much of every fight. Obviously, he is 34 now. He isn't getting any younger. And I believe that he is at his physical prime meets his mental prime. I think
definitely.
He's learning and where his body's come together, this is the best we'll see Francis Ngannou. And I'd like to see him against Stipe again. I love to see some big boys clash.
Yeah. I mean, how many fights has he had since he fought Stipe? You know, he's developed exactly what you said. He's developed so much as a fighter as well.
Yeah.
Although he still does go out there and throw these swings, but when they catch and when they land, then
he's fought strikers as well. He's fought grapplers. He beat, who did he beat again? He beat Curtis Blades again. You throw anything at him, it's saying, do you know what? Francis Ngannou's ready for any challenge. Just bring it to me. He is an exciting fighter. We have got a massive card ahead of us. We have 12 fights. It was going to be 15. I actually love it. I love a 14-15 fight card because it's just non-stop. You don't get a break. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But with this 12 fight card, I'm happy to break it down because 15 was a lot. Opening up this card, we are going to be starting in the featherweight division. We are going to have Jacob Kilburn versus Austin Lingo. Now, I'll be totally honest. This isn't a fight that excites me too much on the card, but MMA is back, the UFC is back, and we're starting with two fighters. So let's get it going. Now, Austin Lingo's 7-1. His one loss came in his UFC debut, and I believe that one was against Youssef Zalal. Now, he got overmatched by Youssef Zalal. He got outstruck, but Youssef Zalal is one hell of a fighter. Now, for Jacob Kilburn, he's coming in at 8-3. He's had 3 losses, and all of them have been by submission. Very much a scrappy fighter, loves to stand, has a nice little short left hook, but he has shown he has got issues on the ground. Now, Austin Lingo, he's not a grappler. He is a man that's going to go in there and he's going to look to knock you out quick. But Jacob Kilburn isn't the sort of man that gets knocked out. I personally see this being a bit of a barn burner. I think that Lingo comes in quick, he comes in hard, and he hits him. Probably goes to decision, if I'm totally honest. It's going to get us back into MMA. What are your feelings on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, there's quite a few names on this card that are not necessarily very exciting now at the beginning of the year, but towards the back end of the year, I think quite a lot of these fighters, especially if they perform very well early on in 2021, we'll be seeing them fighting frequently and fighting at a very, very high standard as well. Similar to Kevin Holland at the back end of last year, everyone in the MMA community knew who he was, and he was very, very well known in everyone's mind. You know, some of these guys that are coming in that have kind of had 10 fights, whether that's being on the regional scene or being in the UFC, they're up and comers. There's a lot of up and comers, and I think Dana and the UFC are definitely putting a lot of effort on the people that are not as high ranked and getting them through the ranks. But I see it going Austin Lingo, to be honest with you. Like you said, he's going to come out hard and fast. I think he's going to put the pressure on and get the W.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Lingo, I guess one interesting thing I found out about Austin Lingo this week, and I don't know if this means anything, but he's never fought outside of Texas. Now, don't know what that means. It might mean something. We're on Fight Island. We are not going to be in Texas this weekend. But yeah, he's never fought out of Texas in his 8 fights. Even his UFC debut, that was in Texas, that he lost. But yeah, that's something new. Lingo will be the slightly taller fighter. Kilburn's going to have the slightly longer reach. I mean, like I say, I'm not here to shit on fighters. It's these guys would do a hell of a lot better in that cage than I'm going to do. But I am here to break them down. And if I'm totally honest, I haven't seen too much on these fighters to be able to say this guy's going to do that, this guy's going to do that. Now this is one of those fights where this whole card, top to bottom, is probably a really good card for matchup wise. It's just a bad card betting wise. There's very few fights that I look on this card and go winner, winner, winner. There are very tight fights. The lines, some of the lines are a little bit off. I don't see enough to show Austin Lingo as high a betting favourite as he is right now. Other than he can finish this fight anywhere, and has only one loss to decision by Youssef Zalal, whereas Jacob Kilburn has been choked out 3 times or lost to submission anyway. So yeah, it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I think it's gonna be a bit of a barn burner. Like I say, these guys also coming into the UFC, coming off of a loss, they've got something to prove. It might be a bit of a loser leaves town sort of fight, so they may have more to prove in this fight. So it could be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now next up, we will be moving to our women's bantamweight division. Now another sort of maybe a loser leaves town fight, maybe even probably even more so on this one. We've got Sarah Moras versus Vanessa Melo. Now, Sarah Moras, she has I don't even believe she has a winning record. Yeah, she's currently at 6-6. Now, she's coming off of a loss to Sijara Eubanks. She does have a win in the UFC over Jojua, and with Vanessa Melo, she's obviously coming off of the 3 losses. Cara Rosa, Tracy Cortez, and Irina Aldana. Now, this really is a loser leaves town fight, in my opinion. You've got Vanessa Melo that's shown that she can be out-grappled, she can be outstruck, and you've got Sarah Moras that shows that if you back her up and give her enough in her face, she can be outstruck, and she is really just looking to jump to her back and sort of look to maybe try and get something off her back and win the fight that way. Now, if I'm totally honest, again, I'm not here to shit on fighters. It's not what I'm looking to do, but this isn't a fight that naturally excites me on the card. I will be leaning towards Sarah Moras. I'll be totally honest, purely because she is a slightly taller fighter and the betting lines are telling me that. That is the only reason I'm going to lean with Sarah Moras. Again, a horrible fight to bet on this fight, if I'm totally honest. It's probably a 50-50. It could go either way. I would not be surprised. But yeah, I'm going to be putting my pick with Sarah Cheesecake Moras. How about yourself? What are you thinking about this one?
Is that her nickname, Cheesecake?
Yeah.
That is terrible. That is one of the worst nicknames I think there is on the roster. Do you know what I mean? That is really bad. Yeah, like you say, quite a lot of these women fighters and female fighters coming through, they're not making enough noise. You know, the Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko's and stuff like that of the world, they're really in your face, and they're very, very over dominant as well. You know, they're fantastic elite level fighters, but quite a lot of these women that are coming through, they're not loud enough. You know, they need to go out there and really put on some fireworks to get the fans' attention, because at the end of the day, mixed martial arts, you know, although it shouldn't be, is a male-driven sport, you know. So these women need to come out, because a lot of people will be sleeping on this fight. You know, they'll be going to make dinner or whatever, and it might be an absolute banger. You just don't know. But no, it will go. I think the easy betting option for this fight would be, will it go to decision? Yes, it probably will go to decision, and yeah, I'll probably lean the other way and go for Melo.
Fair enough, man. Well, you'll be going Melo and I'll be going for Moras. Now, the next fight on the card, I feel like this is a bit of an underrated fight on the card. We're coming into our men's welterweight division. We've got Germany's David Zawada versus Russia's Ramazan Emeev. Now, this is quite the matchup. You've got the Russian with the obvious Sambo background, loves to get the fight to the ground. And control you in any which way, whether he's going to look to finish it by strikes, look to try and get that back and get the choke, or maybe even take an arm. Now, with David Zawada is a guy that loves to come in there and strike with you, but he is also very tricky off his back. Now, he obviously had 2 losses in a row to the UK's Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. If we're talking about bad nicknames, there's another one. Great fighter, awful nickname. Not a fan of that one. And then a fighter on the card later on, Li Jingliang. So it did struggle a little bit in the stand-up with them two, but that's nothing to be snubbed at. The two great fighters. Now, he is coming off of a win to Abubakar Nurmagomedov. And that was by a triangle choke, I believe, sort of halfway through the first round. Now, that could be the tale of this fight. Ramazan Emeev, a guy that loves to get you down to the ground, will mix it up, will put his head on your chest and throw punches to try and get that takedown. But when it's down there, David Zawada, very tricky off his back, knows exactly what he's doing down there. So it's going to be a good fight. Like I say, if Emeev can control more, he's very big for the weight class, very good at sort of controlling on the ground. I believe that's where I'm leaning towards in this fight. I'm going to go for an Emeev win by decision, but like I say, I would not be surprised at all if Zawada pulls off the upset sort of choke. What about yourself? How are you feeling about that fight?
Yeah, I think like you say, Emeev and a lot of the Russian Dagestani kind of community as well, very, very big wrestling background, and I think he's going to slug it out on the floor, constantly chase him up against the fence, and just exactly as you put it, probably go for a decision win. But it'll either be a snooze fest or it will be an exciting grappling exchange on the fence.
Yeah. So where are you going with that? You're going to go with the Emeev decision win as well?
Yeah, Emeev decision. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Definitely. It seems like the popular pick, if we're totally honest. Ramazan Emeev loves to get them decision wins, love to control an opponent on the ground. And David Zawada, he isn't a guy that's going to be finished easy. So after this fight, this is probably the first fight on the card I'm really excited for. I don't know about yourself, but we will be moving into the men's heavyweight division. We've got Justin Badman Tafa versus Carlos Boy Felipe. Now, this fight's intriguing to me. You've got two big guys, but so this may be a little bit of a long shot. Tell me if it is. But Carlos Felipe, to me, reminds me in his stand-up of a heavyweight Diaz brother. Now, the guy's always talking. He's coming forward. He's in your face. He isn't hitting you with everything to knock you out. He's just touching you up, and he's looking for that shot. Now, don't get me wrong. His ground game leaves nothing on. The Diaz brothers, they have one hell of a ground game, and Carlos Felipe showed out against Sergey Spivak that once you get him down, he is a little bit like a fish out of the water down there. Doesn't really know what he's doing, especially not compared to the elite up in that division. I see this fight being fun, but I'm going to go for a really unpopular pick in this fight. I'm looking at the odds. It seems very 50-50. This is a bit of a pick-em fight. I see a lot of people going for Tafa, knowing that he's throwing them bombs. A lot of people going for Felipe. I'm going to go for the Felipe decision win. Every time I see two big boys, you think it's going to be a knockout, right? So let's whack that on a decision. Carlos Felipe, he's got the cardio and he will drag it out. He isn't necessarily the hardest hitting heavyweight. They're both, I believe, 6 foot tall. I'll have to check that. I believe they're both 6 foot tall. Neither of them are the tallest of heavyweights. They do like to hit though. And Justin Tafa, he's got that knockout power. Carlos Felipe though, he's got more fights. I believe he's at 9-1 in his career. Justin Tafa at 4-1. So almost twice the amount of fights for Carlos Felipe. I just see him getting it done. What about yourself? How do you see this matchup going?
I've always been very vocal. You know, I will get back to the original topic, but I've always been very vocal on these kind of like. I'm sure they're very fit and they've got a lot of endurance and stuff, but heavyweights that are literally pushing 265, they just really, really don't interest me. I think because very, very little champions at the heavyweight division have ever been sitting at 265. You know, Stipe walks around at what, 235, 240, and a lot of these guys are around that kind of mark, and they're lighter on their feet, they're quicker punches, they've got better endurance and stuff. And some of these guys come out here and just think, right, to be in the heavyweight division, I just need to be fucking huge, and I need to be throwing absolute bombs and throwing everything and the kitchen sink at these other guys to try and get the win. But they need to be more rounded. They need to be more rounded because so many fighters, once you get them to the ground, especially in the heavyweight division, you get them to the ground, They don't know what to do. You know, we saw it with Greg Hardy recently. He literally got put on his back and then was like, right, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm too big. Why am I on the floor? My back's too big. And he was just completely lost. I think it will be a slugfest. And I think within the first kind of 3 minutes, someone will get caught with something and someone will be on the floor. But yeah, like you say, man, it can go either way with regards to it being a long decision win of not really an amazing fight, or it will be all guns blazing straight away, which is what quite a lot of heavyweight fighters base their kind of styles off, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Felipe as well. I'm going to go with Felipe purely because he's got more experience and he's going to come out and hopefully show that experience on fight night.
Fair enough. So you go Felipe with the finish. How early do you reckon it's going to happen? You think it's first, second, or third?
I think first round. I think anything outside of the first round for the heavyweight division is very, very tough to get because they're so big and they've got so, you know, they're putting so much energy into even being there. You know, I think, and if they don't carry the same power into the second and third rounds.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. When it comes to a heavyweight fight, the lightness side that it's not going to go 3 rounds, but that's why I just love the over bet in these fights. I am a better. I do like to gamble on some UFC fights when it comes to the right odds. Anyway, if you can find the right line on the right fighter, but yeah, when you can find some heavyweights that you feel can go over 1.5 rounds, I love to put that bet on. Well, our next fight, we will be going into the men's. I'm not sure if this fight is actually at 170 or if this fight is at 185. I believe it's probably at 185. It'll be Omari Akhmedov versus Tom Breese.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tom Breese, the English talent out of Birmingham, England, does not fight that often. Is a really great talent. We don't see him fight that often. Now, he's coming off a win to KB Buller, I believe the Canadian talent. Not the biggest level of win. I believe the USC were trying to hype KB Buller more than was needed. Before that, did have a loss to Brendan Allen. Now, again, that's not a bad loss to have. Brendan Allen is a young talent coming up and is so slick on the ground. Is so slick on the feet as well. Again, that's not a loss that you take and you go, oh well. It is just one of those. Beat Daniel Kelly, lost to Sean Strickland. Again, Sean Strickland last year came back looking absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I look again, another great fighter to watch fight, a bit like that Diaz brother style of I'm gonna keep talking to you whilst I'm hitting you, and that's fun. That's what I love to watch that. So yeah, it does have a loss to Sean Strickland. So there is 2 losses on his career. He's 12-2. He's lost to Brendan Allen and Sean Strickland. That's not bad. Now, Mary Akhmedov was on a huge sort of win streak. Was beating some real good names. Had a draw to Marvin Vittori,
Mm-hmm.
beat Ian Heinisch, and then came out and just did not look great against Chris Weidman.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm not a massive Weidman fan. I've made it very, very clear. I'm not a massive Weidman and Rockhold. I don't like either of the two of them, to be honest with you, just for no reason whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason.
Because you're English and they went for Michael Bisping. Let's be totally honest. You don't come for the clip.
I think that's what it stems down to. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why Weidman's still fighting. I think he can sit back. He doesn't have to fight anymore. Like former champ stuff like that. He can just chill out. He doesn't need to be fighting. And the performance that he had against Akhmedov was just, it wasn't very good. I was watching it thinking, shouldn't this be a fireworks kind of fight? But then by the third round, they were both so gassed. I think they
Could have been a
Weidman
draw,
literally just
if I'm
laid on
totally
top
honest.
of him.
Yeah, for me that fight could have easily ended in a draw. I don't think anyone other than Chris Weidman and Omari Akhmedov's corner would have been sad about it either. It really wasn't a great affair. Again, Omari Akhmedov is very much a wrestler. Similar to that Ramazan Emeev style of, I'm going to put my head on your chest, I'm going to throw everything, and I'm going to try and take you down and control you. You're wrestling Chris Weidman. This is what he does best.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing. Now, with Tom Breese, a lot of people see Tom Breese as a striker because they know he's got that power. He's great on the feet. But Tom Breese he can grapple as well. The man has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So Mario Akhmedov gets lazy on the ground once he gets one of these takedowns, if he gets a takedown, I would not be surprised to see Tom Breese fighting off of his back, throwing up triangles, throwing up arm bars, trying to get something. If I'm totally honest, I believe this fight goes to a decision, and we will be on Fight Island. So I'm probably going to lean towards Omari Akhmedov, just because we're in Fight Island and with the judges. This fight could go either way. Do you know what? Tom Breese could come out and start him. He had an absolutely fantastic sort of year last year. But at the same time, it's like you go out to Fight Island with these judges and expect to beat a Russian fighter. In that sort of territory, it's you've got to put them out. If I'm totally honest, it's sad that we have to get to this point, but judging's awful in the US, judging's awful all over the world. We've got some really bad judging in MMA recently. So a lot of these times, like Dana says, you don't leave it to the judges. I believe if this fight goes to the judges, that's where I believe Omari Akhmedov will get the win. I'm going to be leaning towards an Akhmedov decision win. What about yourself, man?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, Akhmedov didn't look amazing last time. If Breeze can withstand the first 2 rounds, I think Akhmedov gasses in the later rounds. And as Dominic Cruz was saying, would say, sorry, Breeze just needs to absorb all the punches and wear him out, and then get to the 3rd round and then put the pressure on. Then hopefully he doesn't get wrestle fucked too much. The UK-based fighters, because we don't have wrestling in high school and in primary school and stuff like that, not a lot of them have an amazing wrestling background because it's not bred into you from an early age. So, you really you're almost starting at a handicap if you get into MMA and try and be a wrestler, because it's not your natural, in the UK anyway, because it's not your natural sport, So I think he wears him down, catches him in the 3rd round, and starches him in the 3rd round. I'm going with that.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that sounds good. You've got to back your boys. Like I say, I feel awful going against my sort of English man in Tom Breese. But I can totally see him starching him, without a doubt. Tom Breese, he's a great talent. But yeah, do you know what? We're doing picks against each other, so I'd be silly to pick the same man. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. That's all it was. It was pre-planned, you see. Our next fight coming up now, I believe this fight is in the women's bantamweight division. You've got Wu Yanan versus UFC newcomer Joselyne Edwards. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I've got to say. What about yourself? No, I'm joking. Of course.
Straight over.
Now, Wu Yanan, she was originally meant to fight Betch Correia. If that fight was still going, I'd have so much more to say. When it comes to Betch Correia slander, I'm all aboard. I do not like to slander UFC fighters, but I don't know. When it comes to Betch Correia, I find it easy. The girl likes to punch herself in the face. She loves to walk away at the end of a fight before it's over. Speaking of which, where's Spike Carlisle? I want to see that guy matched up again. He's always fun to watch. Now, we've got Yanan Wu. She's no longer taking on Betch Correia. She's taking on Joselyne Edwards. Now, with Yanan Wu, she's coming off a loss in, I believe it's 2019 since we last saw her. I might have to check that. I think it's 2019, quite a while ago. She didn't fight last year at all. It was a loss to Mizuku in a way where she was sort of just pressured, just walked back, outstruck. Again, she has a win. She has an armbar win over, was it an armbar? Yeah, she has a submission win over Lauren Mueller, who hasn't had a great run in the UFC, but she's shown that she is not just a striker, Yanan Wu. She can mix it up on the ground as well. Now, Joselyne Edwards, she's coming into the UFC off of a very quick knockout win. I managed to catch it quickly. It looks like she just blitzed to her punches and a body kick, and it's over within 28 seconds. So there isn't really much tape on Joselyne Edwards, if I'm totally honest. She is currently at 9-2. We've got Yanan Wu that's currently at 11-3. It's this could be a pick-em. I wouldn't sleep on Joselyne Edwards whatsoever. A lot of people are going to back Yanan Wu because she's a fighter everyone knows. She's had the UFC experience, but Joselyne Edwards comes out fast and hard. She could do something. Now, if I'm totally honest, I feel like they're both very young fighters. They have a very similar problem where you can see that they know everything. They've got all of these tricks in their arsenal. It's just patching it together, doing it right, thinking about the right times to apply everything. I'm going to go with the Yanan Wu decision win. Wu Yanan, Yanan Wu. I've said that wrong 4 times now. So what does it matter? I am terrible at pronunciation. I'm going to go with the Wu Yanan decision win. What about yourself? How are you feeling about this fight?
I think we should give Wu Yanan a little bit of a break because, coming from where she is and the whole pandemic that was stemming from that country, I think we can give her a break for taking 2020 off,
Maybe, yeah.
I was rewatching the Wei Li fight against Joanna at the beginning of last year. Well, I rewatched it last week from the beginning of last year. And, at the end of the fight, she says something about coronavirus and stuff like that. Oh, we've got a really bad country and, everything's going bad at the moment and stuff like that. Hopefully everything's going to be better soon. Little did she know we would be here a year later in the UK, still not being able to do a lot, It was crazy thinking it was so long ago. But I see Edwards. I was looking just before we got on the call, and she looks very, very physically fit. Very ripped, very toned, very lean. I know that doesn't necessarily sway the fight, as we see with Paulo Costa. He can still lose to skinny Izzy, but a lot of these fighters coming out and they're looking very, very physically fit. And she looks very good as well. Like you say, there's no real tape on her, just a 28-second victory, but I see her coming out very, very hard and fast. Newcomers in the UFC have always got a massive amount of pressure on putting on these performances as well, because sometimes they might just be on a 1-fight contract and they might be making 10 and 10. So that in the big scheme of things, they're not making a great amount of money. So they've got to come out, they've got to put on a performance, and they've got to try and get that fight of the night bonus as well, because they've got to do what they love to do, and to do that, they need a bit of cash. They need a bit of cash flow. So I'll go with Edwards on this one.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. These sort of, as you say, lesser known fighters, they're looking to make their mark. And like you say, if you're on 10 and 10, sometimes that'll pay your camp. That might pay your rent for the next couple of months until you can get another fight. But I tell you what, 50K will do. That'll change your life. These performance bonuses, they mean someone that may be fighting at a camp that they like the people around. They can go to one of these bigger camps. Be around UFC caliber fighters every day, and train with the best. These bonuses can change your life. And like you say, this could be anyone's. I'll go and Wu. You'll be going with Edwards on that one. Now, moving on, we have France's Nassourdine Imavov versus Phil Megatron Hawes. Now,
another terrible nickname there, Megatron. Well, I mean,
Megatron. I've heard that like 4 times this week.
Yeah,
like
people don't need to have nicknames. They don't. Stipe Miocic, he doesn't have a nickname. He doesn't need one. Do you know what I mean? So why give yourself one that is terrible?
Honestly, do you know what? Imagine giving yourself a nickname. I'd never do it myself, personally. I know, like, sound like Sugar. It'd be horrible. Anyway, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Some of the best fighters really don't have nicknames, and they are some of the scariest, baddest men on the planet. Cain Velasquez, Stipe Miocic. We don't need nicknames. They're going, no, you call me my name, all right?
Yeah, exactly.
Say my name. It's one of those. We'll be moving on to the middleweight division in this one. Phil Hawes, Nassourdine Imavov. You've got Phil Hawes, which is another Dana White's Contender Series sort of standout with great knockout power. We know Dana loves his knockouts, and he definitely does on the Contender Series, and that's how you're going to get a contract if you're going to finish a fight. Now, he's coming up against France's Nassourdine Imavov, trains out of a MMA factory with Cyril Gane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has some great training partners out there, and he is currently on a 6-fight win streak himself. I believe Hawes is also on is he on a 5-fight win streak himself as well?
Mm-hmm.
So this is someone's about to get an O. It's both 9-2 fighters, both looking really good. Now we've got Imavov that's coming off a great win against Jordan Williams, and we've got Phil Hawes that absolutely dismantled Jacob Malkoun in about 20 seconds, I believe it was. Just came up and blitzed him. Now, Jacob Malkoun, the guy that everyone was sort of speaking up, no one wants to fight him because he's Robert Whittaker's training partner. Now, Philip Hawes made a short work of him. Now, my only issue with this fight is Philip Hawes' cardio. Every single one of his wins are in the first round. if he does not beat you in the first round, his 2 losses have come in the second round, either to strikes or by guillotine choke. That guillotine choke after shooting in for a sloppy takedown. Now, the longer this fight goes, the more I see it going in the favour of Imavov. Don't get me wrong, Phil Hawes has some early power, and Imavov needs to keep out the way of that. I believe that's the way it's going to go. I think Imavov has some great footwork, can also take a shot. I don't really like to say that about fighters. You don't really want to compliment someone's chin because they don't really want to get hit. But he can take a shot, and he also is very good at rolling with the punches. I believe Imavov will just be that little bit better. I think he's the more complete striker. Phil Hawes has that power, but Imavov's going to use his footwork, his distant management to evade it early on, and then that's where he's going to take over in the second and the third. I'm probably going to say that my pick will be a Nassourdine Imavov decision win. I think Hawes might actually be taking all 3 rounds here. I don't think he's. I think he's fully aware that he's had a cardio issue in the past, and I think he would have been working on that tenfold. But there's levels to this game, and when you throw that hard and that fast and put everything into a strike, if that is your body type, there's only so long that you can go doing that. So yeah, I'll be going towards Nassourdine Imavov by decision win. What about yourself, mate?
Well, once again, we're going to have to agree to disagree here. I remember watching the Hawes fight, actually. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic for the very short amount of time that he was fighting. But I thought he was very quick, very dynamic. He made a lot of reads very, very early on and got the W. So I think Hawes takes it again, to be honest with you. I think he puts the pressure on straight away, straight out the gate. Puts quite a lot of these wrestlers kind of feel you out for the first couple of minutes, and they don't really know what to do early on, and they need a little bit of time to warm up. But I think Hawes comes out, picks his reads, throws some feints, and then catches him with some big shots coming in when he's trying to get in the takedown. I'm going to go with Hawes, man.
That's fair enough, man. And like you say, it's a popular pick. Hawes is got absolute power. He's sort of got that Joaquin Buckley physique of just being absolutely huge. So he is a scary guy. The only thing about Hawes is he has got to be the oldest guy that I've seen push this much in the UFC. I think he's like 35, which it's 32. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you know what? I just read that totally wrong. I thought I saw earlier that he's 35. I'm like, he's getting one hell of a push for a guy that's sort of pushing into sort of that sort of region. But Philip Hawes, I feel like it could be a fun fight. I will not be surprised if he comes out and knocks him out early, but realistically, I believe that Nassourdine Imavov, he just has enough to take Phil Hawes into the late rounds, into the deep waters.
Yeah.
Now, the next fight, I believe, will be kicking off the main card. And it will be Punahele Soriano versus Dusko Todorovic. Now, I've pronounced both of them names wrong. If you can pronounce them right, I'll give you a $5. I'll do it right now, because I just don't think it'll happen. They are some hard names to pronounce, but we're going to go into it anyway. Now, Puna Soriano is currently 7-0. We've got Dusko Todorovic that's 10-0. Both fighters, someone's always got to go in this fight. Now, I believe Puna's more of a stand-up fighter. He can wrestle. He has wrestling credentials, but he does show that he likes to stand there and bang. Now, Dusko Todorovic, saw him on the Contender Series, and he is the sort of guy that will walk you back to the cage with strikes and throw everything but the kitchen sink. This guy was unloading with everything, and for such a big guy, these guys are middleweights. So it's like, for such big guys, you don't expect them to be sort of throwing everything so fast and so hard and being able to do that for 3 rounds. Now, Dusko is that guy. Now, not only is he throwing strikes, he's also mixing up the takedowns. Even if he's not getting the takedown, it's making you think. So you're dropping your hands, then he comes up top again. A very intelligent fighter. Puna Soriano throws bombs. This guy hits absolutely hard. And Dusko likes to leave his hands down. This fight, I could see going absolutely any way. But the longer this fight goes, the more I say it leans in the favour of Dusko. Dusko is a slightly bigger fighter. If I'm honest, Puna could probably make 170. Does look a little bit on the smaller end of the middleweight division. I think Dusko's going to get this done late. I'm going to go for a 3rd round knockout by Dusko Todorovic. What about yourself?
Nice, man. Fair play for just saying the names over and over and over again. Just going for it, you know. And I think the easiest pick here would be to go for Todorovic purely because he's got an easier name to say. But no, I think he gets the W as well. Like exactly like you say, man. He's very good on his feet. He can mix it up, and it can go either way. But I think Todorovic is going to get it done inside the distance. And both of these guys have got something to prove. That first card on the main event, they've both got something to say, and they're both going to try and get out there. And at the end of the day, as we just said, they've got to try and get that fight bonus. Then even on the first fight on the main event, they're not making a huge amount of money, and they need to get out there and they need to really, really, get that fight of the night bonus to be able to continue doing what they love doing. But I think Todorovic gets it. Yeah,
you're not wrong. I think this is probably maybe the earliest contender on the card for fight of the night, if not performance of the night, if one of them gets a finish. But like I say, this main card coming up, every single one of these fights could be a fight of the night or performance of the night sort of fight. Our next fight in the middleweight division, we have 2020 standout fighter Joaquin Buckley with that beautiful knockout of the year. If it wasn't your knockout of the year, you were probably watching a different sport, or you're just a Suga Sean O'Malley fan. That was the knockout of the year. It was incredible. Of Impa Kasanganay. Absolutely incredible. I didn't get complimented then. Impa Kasanganay. I've been practicing that all day.
I was waiting until you stopped talking, but that was fantastic.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got Joaquin Buckley versus Alessio Di Chirico. Now, both of these guys have a loss to Kevin Holland, who is my current favourite fighter. Now, I don't like to say, I have a favourite fighter, because it's like kids, isn't it? It's like you shouldn't really have a favourite kid. We all do. Luckily, I've only got one kid. But I have a favourite fighter right now, and it is Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is just out there. He will call out anyone, he will say what he wants, and he will back it up. I love to watch Kevin Holland. But both of these guys have a loss to him. Now, Joaquin Buckley got knocked out by Kevin Holland. Alessio Di Chirico managed to last the distance, I believe. Now, I may have to double check that. But I believe that he lost a decision, a three round decision to Kevin Holland. So the guy won't get knocked out easy. You ain't gonna finish this guy. Is what it's looking like in the UFC anyway. So if he can go with Kevin Holland, maybe he can go with Joaquin Buckley. Saying that, I believe that this fight is set up for Joaquin Buckley to win. It seems like an easy fight for him to win. Di Chirico's coming off of 3 losses. Buckley's coming off of 2 great knockouts. It's very much set up for Buckley to win, but I don't think he's going to win it by a marvelous KO. I think he's going to win a decision. I think he's going to be too much for Di Chirico. Chirico's probably going to use his length to stay on the outside. But ultimately, I believe I'm going to go for the Joaquin Buckley decision win. What about yourself?
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to go with Buckley as well, but I think I watched an interview with him and he said that there's so much pressure after that knockout of Kasanganay. It was loads and loads of pressure from every different angle. It completely blew up the video. It went viral for people that don't even watch MMA. So he puts that pressure on himself as well. And hopefully I think he's going to throw everything. He's going to throw something exciting because he wants to be an exciting fighter, because he wants to get put on the main card. He wants to make the money. He's still a very young guy and he's built like a brick shit house. I think he throws absolutely everything. I think he goes leg, head, body, all which ways. And I think I think he's going to knock him out, to be honest with you. Di Chirico is coming off of 3 losses, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's going to be, is the morale going to be in the same place as it was if he was coming off of a win, as Buckley is? I know you can't always base these fights on if they're coming off of wins or losses, or if they've got something to prove, but 3 losses back to back, it doesn't put you in a great mindset to want to go in there and really smash this guy. And having it being so favoured for Buckley as well, he is set up for failure. Even if he wins, it could be like boxing has been recently. And even if he wins, they're still going to go, right, so Buckley, what happened in the fight? Do you know what I mean? But I think Buckley takes it, and I think that will probably be the last that we see of Di Chirico on the main event side of things anyway, whether he'll get an easier fight and get put on the prelims. But I see Buckley taking it inside the distance as well.
Inside the distance. Yeah, with coming off of 3 losses, if that then tends to fall, especially with all the UFC fighters that have been dropped recently, he may have to work his way back up through the regional scenes. It's going to be. I think that's probably sort of going to. It could be a fun fight. I think that Chirico is going to show more than people expect from him. You can never count him out. He's coming here to fight. It's going to be a good one. Now, our next fight. Now, I've tried to go as long as I can without speaking about this fight because I just don't want to jinx it. It's been nearly 3 years since we've seen Santiago Ponzinibbio in the cage, and it saddens me. From all of his visa issues to his injury issues, it's awful. Now, people are forgetting Santiago Ponzinibbio is currently on a 7-fight win streak. The man has not been losing, but he is not in those rankings because he hasn't able to fight. Mm-hmm. Now, if you just look down, his latest win was Neil Magny. He beat Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson. He is always there. Now, Santiago Ponzinibbio was that guy that no one wanted to fight. No one wanted the matchup against him. He's going to be in your face. He's going to throw everything at you. He's not easy to take down, and he hits hard. In the 170-pound division, he does really hit hard. Now, he's matched up against Jing Liang, this sort of Chinese prospect, a very huge Chinese sort of star, and very huge in stature as well. He's 6 foot, 170 pounds. He is a big guy. Now, Li Jingliang, he's coming off a loss to Neil Magny, whereas Ponzinibbio, he's coming off that win to Neil Magny. Neil Magny isn't a guy you count out at all. Will always be at the top of that division because he has skills. It's very good on the feet, almost impossible to take down. Neil Magny is a very hard matchup for anyone. But I think the story of this fight really is, what is Santiago Ponzinibbio going to look like? Now, for me, Ponzinibbio is just a better version of Li Jingliang. They do the very similar stuff, and Pons just does it better and just hits a little bit harder, in my opinion. Now, if Pons shows up exactly the same as we last saw him, now being obviously 34 years old, I'm going to go for the Pons win. But Li Jingliang isn't a guy that you're going to knock out. He's a guy that's been submitted once, lost a few decisions, but he's never been knocked out. Ponzinibbio is also a guy that hits very hard. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be leaning towards a Santiago Ponzinibbio decision win, purely because this is a 3-round fight. But any further, I'd maybe be leaning towards a KO. We'll go with Santiago Ponzinibbio with a decision. What about yourself? How are you feeling about this one?
I was going to say the same thing, man. I remember watching the Neil Magny fight when he just completely chopped his legs in half. And it was, I think he actually won by TKO via leg kicks, no?
As in, Santiago Ponzinibbio when he beat Neil Magny. I think it was the punch that finished him, but when you're walking around and you're looking to evade that, and then you're not concentrating on the face, are you?
Yeah, exactly. His kicks are lethal. You know, he's throwing samurai swords at your legs. I think he slows Li Jingliang down in the early round, and then I'm going with the same pick as you, man. I'm going with the decision for Ponzinibbio, but I don't think it will be as easy as Ponzinibbio will think or Jingliang will think, because they're both very, very good fighters, as you say, and 3 years is a long time. Ring rust or cage rust or whatever you want to call it, it can cause a little bit of mental impairment, you know, but hopefully he's been training hard and comes out and puts on a performance that he has been doing in the past.
Yeah, there's something to be said for being able to take time off, recover, but Santiago Ponzinibbio wasn't a fighter that was taking a lot of damage, that was getting knocked out. He was really in the prime, so it really was a bad time for him to have such obviously had issues with injury. He had visa problems, just so much time out. It wasn't the greatest time for him, but it would be great to see him back. I think he's a real threat to the 170-pound division, probably one of the strongest divisions that we've ever seen during the UFC. I love watching welterweights fight. I think for me, they're that perfect mix between power, speed, athleticism. I love to watch a welterweight fight. So that's going to be an absolute fun one. Next up, we're now moving on to our co-main event. In our 170-pound division, we have the natural-born killer Carlos Condit versus the immortal Matt Brown. Now, for me, I love this fight. I love this fight mainly because it's a co-main event. These legends are getting the respect they deserve, and it's been put up on the main card. How many times do we see a fight like this go under the radar, sat on the prelims? People might even miss it because they're not hardcore fight fans watching all the fights. I love that this is a co-main event. It's what they deserve. Two guys that are in the later end of their career. You've got Matt Brown in his 40s now, and Carlos Condit, I believe he's about 36. But both have a lot of fights. You've got Carlos Condit that's had, like, I think this is his 45th fight I saw earlier this week. That's a lot of fights for a guy that's barely fought in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, right? He's very, very seasoned. And then you've got Matt Brown that's had probably nearly 40 fights himself. This might be his 40th fight. So it's so many fights. They've got 85 fights between them. These are some legends. Now, with Carlos Condit, he was obviously not on a great run of form. How many fights did he have in a row? I think he had 4 or 5 losses in a row before he got that win against Court McGee. And the thing is, he wasn't losing against run-of-the-mill fighters. He was losing against your Robbie Lawlers, Damian Myers, Michael Chiesa. So good fighters that know how to beat you. Again, the Robbie Lawler fight, I still believe that he won that fight. UFC 195, go check it back. Carlos Condit won that fight, but I'm not having that argument today. But any other sort of fight that he's had that he seems to have lost, they've been awful stylistic matchups for him. You've got the Michael Chiesas that are going to take you down, look to get you back. Carlos Condit wants to stand in the middle of that ring and throw strikes with you. Now, that is exactly what Matt Brown wants to do. This fight on paper should be insane. Now, people forget that Matt Brown can wrestle. They both do have sort of the weaker level of takedown defense in that division, but Matt Brown can wrestle. Doesn't mean he's going to. That doesn't mean he's going to at all. I believe these guys are going to go out there and throw bombs. Now, Carlos Condit being a little bit of this taller fighter, I'd say he's probably more in his physical prime than Matt Brown, just being a little bit younger. And the fact that Matt Brown is coming off of such a bad KO to Michel Baeza. Was that a head kick KO that he had to Baeza?
Yeah, Baeza completely destroyed him.
He was looking all right. The first round, he was looking competent in that fight. And Baeza is an incredible fighter, very fast as well, powerful. Again, one of those matchups that I don't really like to see sort of the older generation of UFC stars in, sort of that gatekeeper role. I'm not a fan of those sort of matchups, but this matchup I am all for. I will be leaning with Carlos Condit with the decision win because Matt Brown, he still has a chin. I don't care what you're going to say. Baeza hits hard and kicks definitely hard. Matt Brown's going to hang in there. This is going to be a barn burner. For me, this is maybe my fight of the night if we didn't have the main event that we have. The main event is just absolutely insane for me. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Carlos Condit decision win. What about yourself?
I spoke a little bit about this fight recently as well, but between the two of them, they have 40 losses. I think one's got 17 losses and one's got 13. So that's like 40 losses if my math is correct, and that's a lot of losses to have. These are they're from a different era. They're from a different era.
You're looking at it all wrong. That's a glass half empty way of looking at it. It's glass half full. They have 45 wins between them, all right? They may have 40 losses, but they have 45 wins. Anyway, carry on.
As I've said, man, I'm a fan of fighting and I'm a fan of people fighting. I'm not emotionally invested in this fight particularly. A lot of the hardcore people that have been watching since UFC 1, etc., will, probably slander me a little bit for saying that. But I like watching people fight. And I'm probably more excited to see people that I've never heard of on the undercard fight than these guys fight. As we said before we actually started the show, that kind of main event is what you'd see on Bellator in 3 years' time. And will it excite people? Probably not. Will it get a lot more people to watch the fight? Probably not. It will get the hardcore fans watching. I will watch the fight, but I'm completely unbiased to which way it goes, to be honest with you.
If you're going to have to pick a winner, which way are you going with it?
Probably Condit, because I've seen more of his fights and I've seen him more in action, to be fair.
Fair enough. Yeah, same with me. Now, we are now moving on to our main event of the evening. A fight that is going to be incredible. A fight since it's been booked, I've been going backwards and forwards on who I think is going to win the fight, how I think it's going to be finished, or if it's going to be finished. We've got Max Blessed Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Now, Max Holloway, the best is blessed. I love Max Holloway. I love his fighting style. He's going to stand in the middle of the ring with you. He's going to talk to you again. Another one of those fighters that loves to talk whilst they're fighting with you. The best thing about Max Holloway is he's not even rude about it. He's a bit like that Wonder Boy of going, oh, did I poke you in the eye? Sorry. He's just talking. He is so respectful. He's just a great guy. Now, I believe I tweeted about this week, saying I shouldn't be surprised at this stat anymore, but Max Holloway will be coming into this fight as a younger fighter. Now, Max Holloway is only 29 years old. I found that astonishing. I really do. Now, I'm 25, but I've been watching the UFC most of my adult life and teenage life. And Max Holloway has been a part of it for the longest time. Mm-hmm. How is this man only 4 years older than me? And he's had 27 fights, probably 20 in the UFC. He's great, and he's fought against all the best. Now, he's obviously coming to get off the 2 losses against Volkanovski. Before that, he beat Frankie Edgar and lost up at 155 to Poirier. Mm-hmm. But his most recent notable win would be the Frankie Edgar one before quite a while ago, I believe, 2018 now maybe. The win against Brian Ortega. Sorry, the name was escaping me. That was his last sort of big win. Obviously, that win against Frankie Edgar. Now, people are sleeping on Max Holloway. Max Holloway is not done. Not even slightly. He hasn't got started, in my opinion. Alexander Volkanovski is one hell of a champ. So underrated for what he does, for the game plan that he puts out there with his team. Again, the game plan that comes out from that team out in New Zealand is unreal. What they've done with Izzy, what they've done with Hooker, what they've done with Volkanovski, what they're trying to do with Brad Riddell, they are something else. And Volkanovski is that's again, last fight was very close. I believe Max may have lost his title because he got a bit complacent. Now, when you are the champion, you're winning, you're doing everything right, you're beating everyone, and you're doing it in great style. What is there such to change? Whereas for Alexander Volkanovski, he's constantly looking at Max Holloway. He's got him in the eyesight. Every single one of these people below him, they're constantly looking at Max Holloway, just like everyone's looking at Volk now. I believe that may have been the issue. He came in with a game plan, and then Max came back and went, no, all right, okay, I've got to go do a game plan to beat you now. I've got to actually think about this. Used a lot more kicks. Wasn't just having as much fun in there, as you say. Now, Calvin Kattar. This man hits hard. This man is a striker. This matchup is a striker's dream. You've got 2 boxers in essence. Max does like to throw in the kicks more, but he's known for his volume in his hands. Kattar is known for his power. Now, Calvin Kattar's coming off 2 wins, I believe. He's got the win over Dan 50K Ige. Mm-hmm. That was a 5-round fight. Got the decision win. I believe he got 4 rounds to 1. I scored it 4 rounds to 1 anyway. He got the win over Dan Ige, and obviously has the KO over Jeremy Stevens as well. Before that, he lost the fight to Zabit Magomedsharipov. A fight where I believe I picked Calvin Kattar to win. Now, with Calvin Kattar, he started slow. Zabit's got his obvious issues with cardio, where later on people will steal rounds from him. But Calvin Kattar did start slow, and I believe this could be the issue with the fight. Max came out in his last fight knowing that he needed to win rounds, not just win a fight. And I believe this is the same thing that he's going to face against Calvin. He's going to come out strong, he's going to come out fast and try and steal rounds early on. This could be a really fun fight. The best is blessed. I'm always going to vote for Max. I love Calvin Kattar. He's a great fighter to watch. I'm going for the Max decision win. How are you seeing this fight going down yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you made some great points there. I remember watching the T-City fight with Holloway, and I think it was the most strikes ever absorbed by anyone to the head. As we know, Max is a volume puncher and a volume striker in general. Kattar is a little bit on the other side. He will pick his shots and he will throw bombs. He works very well moving backwards as well. He rocks you, moves back. You walk into him. I can't remember who he caught with the uppercut. It was just very, very crisp. I can't get it into my mind at the moment, but he works very, very well moving forward, backwards, sideways, whichever which way. Holloway's going to try and get in there and pepper him, as he usually does. I'm sure we'll hear that from the commentary as well. Max is going to go in and pepper him. with shots, but Kate is going to be throwing bombs. And I think Kate catches him a few times. Max, obviously, when he fought Dustin, he was going up a weight class, which is completely different. And Dustin Poirier is a fantastic, phenomenal fighter as well, who throws these short hooks and he just throws them in rapid concession. But Max didn't go down. He never did go down through the whole fight. So will Kattar be able to knock him out? I'm not sure. I think Kattar outworks him on the feet. And he evades a few more of the punches. I think his boxing is just ever so slightly better. I'm going to go with the unpopular opinion and go with Kattar via split decision. I think it's going to be very, 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 very close. The whole fight, I think he's going to be super close, and I think Kattar gets it.
No, that scares me. Not Max Holloway losing, not Kattar winning, but just the fact that you said split decision. Now, if Max Holloway loses this fight by decision, I don't think I'm going to be on Twitter for at least a week. If he loses it by a split decision, that's probably going to go up to at least a month. Now, I can't deal with the cries of robbery. I'm pretty sure both of these fighters know that they cannot be leaving it in the hands of the judges, and they do not want to make this a close fight. I think they both know that full well, especially Max coming off the latest loss to Volkanovski, and Calvin with his loss to Zabit, where that second round was close. Personally, I think Zabit won the fight, even though I backed Calvin, but it could be argued either way. You don't want to leave fights like that in the hands of the judges, fights that are so close, and these boxing judges that are judging MMA. Let's be honest, these are all old boxing judges. They're watching the strikes thrown by the hands, and that's about it. And even then, sometimes they're not even watching that. They're not watching a thing. But the thing that I believe sort of pushed me over the edge to go with Max in his fight, like I said, I've been going backwards and forwards. It's sort of head saying Kattar, heart saying Max. And I always like to go with my heart because that's what I was taught anyway. But in the Jeremy Stephens fight, Calvin Kattar's nose got broke. Mm-hmm. And I mean broke, to the point that even in the Ige fight, just out of a jab, that rebust up Calvin Kattar's nose. This is what I worry about Kattar. Like you said, Max throws more strikes than anyone. There is no one that can throw like Max Holloway. He will be constantly throwing strikes in your face. And sometimes it isn't the hard shots that damage you, it's the constant ones. Mm-hmm. When you're just touching on that face and you're just touching on that nose, that's what I worry about Kattar. This is a 5-round fight. He's going with Max Holloway. Again, Max Holloway known to have the chin. Like you said it yourself, the closest I've seen to Max being finished by strikes is that Dustin Poirier sort of elbow that cut his head open. That's the most worried I've been for Max in that sense. I didn't get that in any of the Volkanovski fights. I don't think I'm going to get that feeling here. There are the comparisons that Calvin Kattar has the most similar style to Dustin Poirier that Max has fought. Very much a power boxer that with great footwork, which is what Poirier is about. But no, I think the nose may be the equalizer in this fight. Sometimes when you've just taken so much damage, there's only so much you can do. It's same with the Diaz brothers. It's like with Nate Diaz, he has so much scar tissue, it loses fights for him. In that Masvidal fight, I'm not saying he was going to win that fight. I think you'd be silly to say that fight. Jorge won that fight. Stylistically, he was always winning that fight. But it did not help him. You're going to get cut up so easily. The doctors are looking to stop it, and you've already lost yourself the fight sometimes.
Yeah, completely. I think Kattar uses his boxing acumen, and he evades more of the punches. You know, Max can throw everything. He doesn't necessarily land everything. I think Kattar can evade quite a lot of the punches, whether he's slipping, rolling, or just moving in on the inside and trying to close the distance. You know, Max has got very, very long arms. I think he's going to try and catch him on the end of the punches and not let him get in as much. But I think a good game plan for Kattar would be to get in and work like the dirty boxing up against the cage.
Yeah, that like I said, fantastic idea. If it's one of those, whose game plan is going to work? It's going to be a great card. It's one of them sleeper cards where you look at the main card, it looks absolutely sick. It's a barn burner. Prelims may not look as exciting, but like I say, a lot of these. I've made picks and I'm usually very confident. Last year, I think I went 74% all in all. I made picks for every single prelim, every single main card for the UFC last year. I went 74%. Most cards, I was very confident in my picks. This week, I haven't got a clue. I couldn't even tell you half the picks I've made unless I'll watch it back and check, because that's how close some of these fights are. I've just gone, yeah, I'll pick him. These are some very close fights. It's gonna be fun. More than anything, I'm just excited to have the UFC back. I love fight nights. I sometimes get on Discord with the lads. Sometimes I'll just watch them alone. But I'm excited to have fights back. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I cannot wait. It feels like it's been forever. And as you know, social media, especially, the MMA Twitter side of life is getting very, very quiet, and people are talking about stuff that we're not necessarily there for. We're there for a conversation about MMA, and people aren't necessarily talking about that. And you just think, right, I'm not really here for this. I'm gonna try and talk about MMA and move it to the conversational points that you want to take it to. I think everyone would be very, very glad on fight night to spend the whole night watching their phone light up over watching the fights anyway, which most of us do. But yeah. I'm sure everyone would be really, really pumped to be watching the fights and to be engaging again on social media with the fights being on.
Nah, definitely. It's going to be fantastic. Now, I do have a few questions over from Twitter. Before we get this going, I've got a few questions for you. But we have been going over an hour, so I tell you what, I've got numbers 1 to 6. I've got 6 questions written down here. You give me a number and I'll give you the question.
3.
3. Right. This question is from DeBaller 1596. Do you book an interim fight at middleweight while Izzy is at 205?
It depends how quickly Izzy can turn it around. Whatever which way the Blachowicz fight goes, if he wins, if he loses, however it goes, if he can cut the weight quick enough, I don't think there's a need for an interim title fight. I'm not a massive fan of the interim thing anyway, unless the champ is out with an injury or something like that. But I think people need to be a little bit more aware of their surroundings. If they're going to be out for 2 years, 3 years, etc. So you know what, I'm going to vacate the title. I'm going to come back, and then I can, give me the opportunity to fight again and fight for the title again when I come back. A lot of these guys, when they're moving around in weight divisions, which we've seen so much over the past couple of years, they leave so much, they leave an empty hole in this division, and then they go off to fight something else. But I think they should just vacate the title. If they're moving up, they should vacate. Personally, that's what I think. I don't think we should have these 2, 3, 4 weight division champions. I think vacate the title, move up, challenge for something else, exactly like John Jones did. He vacated the 205. He's moving up. He knows he's moving up, and he won't be able to defend it. And just go with that,
So, for me, I think there's 2 points to this. I think you're right. I think you're right in a lot of things that you said, but I think there needs to be a rule. I think this, as the UFC is getting bigger, it needs to become more of an actual sport. It needs to have more regulations. We need to have rankings that matter and mean something. But also there needs to be a rule for championship belts. And the hard and fast rule is a year, right? It's what people say. It never really gets stuck to, but Dana said it quite a few times. If you haven't had a fight in a year, we're going to do an interim belt, or you're going to get stripped. It's going to be one of the two. Realistically, why strip them if you're going to do the interim belt? Just strip them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? But we've had Stipe that hasn't fought in a while, but with the pandemic, with him being a firefighter as well, he just stated, strip me if you want. I've got other cares. I've got other things that I need to look after. He's also a new father. With Adesanya, I'm hearing a lot of talks about stripping him, but he fought Costa in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not that long ago. Don't get me wrong. If it's by September and he's having a rematch with Yan because he beat him for the belt and he's given him a rematch and he still hasn't come back down to middleweight, fair enough, strip away. I believe there should be a hard and fast rule. I think a year works. If I'm honest, there's fighters like, so Usman, for example. Usman is not a welterweight. Yes, he makes welterweight. Yes, he doesn't have an issue on the scales, but he also doesn't fight regular. And there's a reason for that. That weight cut for Usman is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And when these fighters are cutting so much weight to be able to make these scales, on the lead up to trying to get that belt, they'll put themselves through the ringer and really, really damage themselves to do it. But there's a reason why Usman won't fight that often. It's a hell of a weight cut. I see Usman coming up to middleweight within the next year, maybe 2 at most. But I see Usman coming up to middleweight without a doubt, especially with his wrestling ability and seeing what the middleweight landscape sort of looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't believe there needs to be an interim belt until at least July time, and they ask Izzy if he's going to fight by September.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a no, then fair enough. I believe that Izzy's going to go up. He's going to start Yan. and he's going to win the 205 belt. He's going to come back down. He's going to beat whoever the next challenger is by that point. I don't think it will be Kevin Holland yet. I think it will be someone before him, maybe the Rob rematch. Maybe somehow Paulo Costa gets himself a rematch. I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's trying to get it. But yeah, I believe that's what's really going to happen. And I think that Usman's looking to go up to middleweight, but also him and Izzy, they have that sort of a Nigerian sort of connection, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason that's stopping him sort of pushing for Izzy's strap straight away. But yeah, that's a good question. Thank you very much, Debola. Now, you've done number 3. Give me a number between 1 and 6.
6, man. Let's go with 6.
6. So this question, I think we've sort of answered a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway. This question's from Krishy781. We've got, which one is going to be more effective this weekend? Max Holloway's volume or Calvin Kattar's power?
Yeah, I mean, we both went for... We've obviously already broke this down anyway, so we could probably pick another number, but you went with Max Holloway's volume. I went with Calvin Kattar's power. I think we can pretty much snub that one out and get another question on the go.
Hang on. Give me another number.
2.
2. Now, this question is from one of my favourite accounts on Twitter. It is Sin City Sarah. If you aren't following Sin City Sarah already, do it. Also, go onto her YouTube channel, like, subscribe, watch all of her videos, tell your friends, tell them to tell their friends, tell them to watch the videos, then repost them, share them, like, subscribe, eat, rave, repeat, whatever you've got to do. Anyway, Sin City Sarah, she also has a YouTube channel. She's got a question here, and it is, if you could take any fighter on a date, who would it be, and where would you take them?
I saw this one earlier, and I thought it was a very, very tough decision. It depends whether you go with the natural, male taking a female out, or whether you go with, do you want to take a bloke out for dinner and have a good chat about fighting? Do you know what I mean? Probably Max Holloway, to be fair. I think he would be a proper laugh. There's a lot of people that would be cool to go out with, but exactly like you said earlier, I think Max seems like a really, really nice guy, and he's from Hawaii as well, so he eats some pretty cool food, and it's a different style of food as well over there. So I'll probably go with Max and, go to a nice, meat shack. Do you know what I mean? We're going to go and eat meat. We're going to chill out by the sea, maybe eat some
I heard
fish.
that he likes to barbecue. I heard Max Holloway loves a barbecue,
That's
out on the beach,
yeah.
barbecuing some fish, some meats. I heard he loves a barbecue.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'd do, man. Go and sit on the beach, chill out, and just talk fights, talk scraps. He knows a lot of people as well, and I'm sure he'd be a pretty cool guy. And he's very close to my age as well, so we'd have a lot more in common. I'm not going to pick like some 45-year-old guy to have a sit down and chat with, because you might not be on the same wavelength of where you're going, But yeah, I'm going to go with Max, to be honest.
That's fair. Do you know what? I like the way that you've gone about that question, because I've got 2 answers, because that's how my mind interpreted the question as well. So my first answer would be, I would take Macy Barber to the zoo, because Macy Barber, right? She may be a badass chick, but if you're a badass chick that doesn't like animals, I'm sorry, you're just not good enough. So we're going to take her to the zoo. We're going to have a fun date. We love to see the animals. Do you know what? Personally, if the budget's high enough, I'll take you on safari, Macy. I really will. I'm going to take you to see some lions in their natural habitat. It's going to be fantastic. And then my other answer, more thinking, do you know what? It doesn't necessarily need to be a woman that I'm taking out on a romantic date. I thought, you know what? I want to take out... Yeah, I'm going to take out on a man date. I'm going to take out Chase Hooper, and I'm going to take him go-karting. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Me and Chase Hooper go-karting. Can you imagine how many laughs are going to happen on that day? It's going to be fantastic. Afterwards, we're going to get ice cream, sweets. It's going to be awesome. Do you know what? I'm going to feel like a child again. So is Chase. It's going to be awesome. Me and Chase Hooper on a little man date. It's going to be fantastic. So I'll tell you what, we've got one more question here, and I'm just going to read it off before we get to the end of this. The question is from Sharp E1, and the question is, which fighter would you most like to go for a pint with?
I mean, it's a really tough one, So I'm going to throw it back in your corner. You can answer this one first. Who do you think you go for a pint with, while I deliberate a little bit about whether we're going for a session or whether we're going for a couple of quiet afternoon drinks?
So I have a few, right? So if it was just me and them having a few pints, and we'll see where the night takes us. it's always going to be Michael Bisping. Now, as an Englishman, as a UFC fan, Michael Bisping is my hero. All right, I want to hear no bad talk, no slander on Michael Bisping. So with Michael Bisping, the man also likes to have a drink as well, right? He can drink with the best of them. I'm sure he has so many amazing stories. But if it wasn't me, Michael Bisping, it'd probably be BJ Penn. That man's night outs must be wild. I am telling you, me, BJ Penn, Diego Sanchez, we're having a hell of a night. It's gonna be incredible. And maybe we'll meet up with John Jones and Conor McGregor later on at some point. Who knows what happens? It could be a fun one. What about yourself? Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Mike Perry would already be in the bar that you are about to go to.
Definitely.
No, just thinking about it just then, it's not a UFC fighter per se. I would probably go for a beer with John Anik. I think he is the god tier of commentators. I love his podcast as well. I think he really, really knows his stuff. He gets really, really involved with what he does as well. He's very knowledgeable about every fighter you can imagine. And he's also got a very unique voice. And I think it would be a proper good laugh as well. And I don't think he would necessarily take you on a full-blown session, like if you were going out with Tai Tuivasa or something, when you're going to be doing shoeies at 3:00 in the morning. But I think with John Anik, you could probably go for a nice G&T, and then you can have a couple of beers afterwards or something, and then finish it off, but have a good chat and a cigar,
Yeah. No, do you know what? I think John Anik might have been one of them hidden sort of dark horses, as you say, where you think, do you know what? He's just going to have a nice quiet drink with you. He'll tell you about his commentary experience, tell you about all of his stories about meeting cool fighters, how Rogan gets. Do you know what I mean? You think that's what it's going to be like. And out of nowhere, John Anik is up on the bar, top off, shouting shots, 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 getting everyone drunk. I'm telling you, John Anik, once the wife's away, once there's no kids, I'm telling you, that man can party.
Yeah, I've listened to his podcast, and he does it straight after the fights as well. Obviously, if he's over in Fight Island, he'll literally be doing the podcast at 10 o'clock in the morning. He's had no sleep. He's been up all night and stuff like that. And I remember once he was like, they were talking about him having this coffee cup that just never seemed to empty. And he was like, look, I'm not going to lie about it. I am completely hanging. I've been awake for 35 hours. I did 3 bottles of wine last night. I don't want to talk about it too much. But I reckon he'd be a proper, like you say, he'd be a dark horse as well.
Honestly, that man's professionalism is unreal. He works so hard, and it tells. Do you know what? Hard work pays off. John Anik is incredible. My favourite commentator in the game. No one does it like him. I love the way that he burst onto the scene and just showed what he's about. But no, that was fun. Do you know what? It's been nice to have you on, Connor. It's I appreciate so much you sort of filling and jumping in as a guest for me, breaking down this card. I'm really excited for this card now. We just got to get weigh-ins out of the way, hoping that it all stays together. You know what it's like with COVID. We have lost a lot of fights recently. I'm just hoping it all stays together and comes together before Saturday. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be in the chat with you. We'll be talking on fight night. We'll be excited. It'll be, again, like you say, it's 5 p.m. that it starts, so it's just perfect time for us. It's going to be so great for the UK. But yeah, before we go, do you want to plug your socials? I'll obviously put them in the description and everything. But do you want to plug your socials just for everyone?
Yeah. I'm at Fighting Talk 2 on Twitter. Exactly the same name over on my YouTube channel as well, which I look after with a couple of friends of mine. We just break down the fights, got a few guests on. I've got a few friends that are fighters, so I'll be having them on in the future as well. And naturally, Suga, if you ever want to come on my show and chat with me and my boys, more than welcome to have you on, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Happily, man. Do you know what? Like I say, it's one of those things. I want to get so many more British and other European voices in the MMA game. There's an abundance of American voices out there, Canadian voices, sort of people that have been watching sport for a long time. But it's nice to hear people in the UK talk about MMA. Like you say, even in your friendship circles, it's very rare that people even know what you're talking about. Yes, they'll know about Conor McGregor. Maybe they'll know about George Masvidal. But they ain't having a nice talk about MMA. They don't know who Dusko Todorovic is. Let's be totally honest.
Or how to say his
name.
Who
Vanessa Melo was.